Hey everyone, how is it going? I am 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶 and I am a business coach for authors over at 𝗙𝗂𝗲𝗏.com, and today I want to talk to you guys about why the production quality of your self-published book is so freaking important. What I see a lot with authors starting out with no incoming sales or they don't have a huge budget starting out is that they want to save as much money as possible by doing a lot of things themselves, which I totally get, by the way, and I've definitely been there before, wanting to save money, wanting to try and figure things out on my own. And look, I don't think it's a bad thing to learn skill sets and to, do things yourself and to be resourceful with your money. Absolutely not, right? Like, I do run a business, I know what it's like. At the same time, there are some things that are really worth investing in that are going to set you up to actually earn sales long term. So I kind of want to talk to you about that today because it's really critically important. And in my job as a coach, I really take the responsibility of guiding people through this process very seriously. And I would not be recommending this stuff if it wasn't absolutely essential, right? I'm always the first person to say your editing and your cover design are your top two most important investments in your book, more important than hiring me. Right? And that's saying something because you make a lot of mistakes without having someone to guide you through it. I would still rather you make the investments in the production of your book than hiring me, because that is what's going to help you sell books at the end of the day, right? And so when I see people who don't want to hire editors and don't want to hire cover designers because of the expense of it, I get it, it's scary, I get that it's a huge investment, and especially when you can't guarantee you're going to make all that money back, and especially when you can't guarantee you're not going to make it back, within the first year or even the first 5 years, right? I get it, it's really scary. But I want to paint an example for you, right? So I'm going to use a video game as an example, and if you're a video game, if you play video games, you may understand this. If you don't, that's okay. You'll probably still get it. So let's say you walk into a game store, right? And you want to go buy a brand new video game that just came out that had a lot of hype around it, a lot of great marketing. You're so excited to get your hands on it. You have such high expectations for it, right? And you buy this game and you go home and play it, and it's a total disappointment. There's like glitches all throughout the game. Half of the rendering isn't there. The dialogue, like the voiceovers, the voice acting is really terrible. It's like just very off-putting. The whole thing is just not a great experience at all. So you take the game back and you're like, why is it like this? Why is it such bad quality? And the people at the store tell you the developer was so excited to get this game out to market that they just didn't have a budget for it. They just did everything themselves, even though they didn't have the time and the hours to do a good job with it. And they didn't really care about people spending their hard-earned money on this game and getting a bad experience. They just wanted to get it out because they were so excited, right? That's kind of what you're doing to your readers when you don't put production into your book and you don't focus on making it very good quality. And you may go through it 100 times trying to catch all the typos, trying to make it as good as it can be, but I guarantee you are too close to your book to be able to catch all those editing errors, and you do not have a skill set in design, unless you do, in which case, good for you, but most people don't, right? I'm sure you can make very good designs. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of Photoshop skills in this day and age, but you still haven't been to art school to learn how to actually use design as a marketing tool. And that's essentially what your cover is. It is a marketing tool. People do judge a book by its cover, and it plays such a huge part in your marketing. I can't even begin to explain, but like, just to summarize, right? What happens in the marketing process of, getting your book out there, getting it recognized, getting hype built around it, is that the more they see your cover and the more they associate your cover with your story, the more familiar they grow with it, the more they become to recognize it, the more they recognize it, right? And that leads to them wanting to buy it, right? So your cover plays a really big role in building impressions with your readers. And it takes like 7 to 8 impressions before someone even thinks about buying your book. So right off the bat, your cover is essentially branding. It's like building that image and that repetition and that awareness for readers right off the bat. Your cover is so important. But on top of that, the cover design itself will attract in a certain type of person. The same way that you have feminine products in the market that attract in, female buyers, and then you have masculine products on the market that attract in male buyers, and then of course there's people who, just are drawn to whatever they're drawn to, and that's cool too. But but ultimately every single, there's like 10 products on the shelf when you go into the shampoo aisle, right? You're going to be drawn to very specific types of products based on the design on the product. It's like that with books, right? You're going to be drawn to certain covers depending on what you're trying to find as a reader, depending on your unique reading taste. So if you as a reader, if you as a writer do not understand exactly how to convey those feelings, exactly how to portray that to readers with your design, even if you do the absolute best you can, you're not going to get all the sales that you could be making, because you're not going to be attracting in the right people. Your cover's not going to be eye-catching enough to draw people in. It's not going to do all that marketing work for you, and then you're going to have to do that yourself, and you're going to have a lot harder time trying to build that up yourself, right? It also it creates credibility for you around being an established author. Like, there are people out there who expect a certain quality because of the books that get published with traditional publishers and the fact that they do have nice covers and they do have professional edits. I've been with a publisher. My book used to go through at least 3 rounds of edits, different types of edits, right? They really do not hold back when you go with a publisher. So when readers are already conditioned to that reading experience, they're already familiar with it, they've been growing up on books like that their whole life, and then they get your book, which maybe has gone through 1 round of edits that wasn't even done by a professional editor and has a really second-hand cover on it, it's just not going to feel the same for them. It's going to be disappointing by default, right? So you want to meet that standard because that's what's going to serve you long term. And I know you're looking at this and going, but that's so much investment up front for, this book that I'm trying to compete with all these big authors. If you want to be taken seriously as an author, if you want to be on the same playing field as these big authors, you have to show up like one. You have to make the investments like one. And let me give you this other scenario, right? The thing is, if this is let's say someone picks up a book from you, right? It's the first book that they're picking up from you. Maybe you have 5 books out, right? All in different series, or you have a series, an ongoing series, right? So this is the first book someone's picking up, and they are, reading through it for the first time. They've never had any impressions with you before. They've never had any reading experience with you before. They don't really know what to expect. They're kind of trying you out, and they've invested their hard-earned money into you and taken a real big risk with you, right? And if they are finding typos, or they are having a hard time reading because the line editing is not there, the structure is not there, the flow is not there, they don't really like your cover because it doesn't sit nice on their shelf with their other books, they're probably not going to buy from you again because they had a pretty bad experience. And they know that there's so many other well-written, better books out there that they can spend their hard-earned money on, and they can enjoy, and life is too short to spend on books that you don't like. So that is going to stop them from recommending your book to people, and it's also going to stop them from buying any future book you ever publish. They're probably not going to take a chance on you again unless, for whatever reason, you have a ton of hype and a ton of people backing a new book that you've published at a later date going, this is really good, right? And that really relies on your marketing, right? So right off the bat, the easiest way to retain readers and to retain long-term sales is to, right off the bat, just get those readers in from day one. Get them in on the first book that they pick up, have them love it, have them recommend it to other people, have them want to buy everything else you ever publish without having to convince them to take another chance on you, right? Because that's how you're going to build that momentum and build that loyal fan base of readers. If you can't do that because you've not put the effort into that first book, it does impact your long-term sales. It does impact your other releases. However, if you do put in that quality investment up front, if you do make sure that the professional reading experience is there for readers, they're going to appreciate that. They're going to acknowledge that, and they're going to remember that, and they are going to buy from you again, and they are going to tell other people about you, which takes a load of marketing work off of your shoulders, and that is how you're going to start making sales. And then in 10 years' time, you will find that you are making sales because you put in the investment from day one. And so I know that it's hard to see that big picture vision sometimes, but I promise you that big picture vision is always at play. And it starts to actually work for you when you start to trust yourself and you trust your ability to make sales in the long term. If you knew with certainty that you would be making sales in 10 years' time, that this book that you've spent maybe $2,000 on for getting edits and cover design done properly, and every other book you ever do that for, if you knew that that would pay off in 10 years, that would be making money back because people read it and loved it, then hell yeah, that's worth the investment, because of course it's going to bring in sales, right? I have literally read so many books from USA Today authors where they get to the third book and there's like typos all through it and it's just not the best quality, and people rate it 1 star and they go, I expected more from this author because their other books were really good, right? The moment you slack, people notice it, and it really does impact their decision to buy from you again, because they don't want to get a bad reading experience. They don't want to purchase an unfinished book, right? And so even if you are hitting the bestsellers list and you're getting noticed, that will still kill your long-term sales, because the moment you stop doing that professional input is the moment those sales begin to die down again, right? And so that is why it is so important to really put production quality value into your book. I wouldn't be recommending it if it wasn't of utmost importance, and like, it's really important to remember that editing is a different skill set to writing, and cover design, design in general, is completely different to writing. Like, these are 2 skill sets that people get paid a full-time salary to do, and then you are the writer. You are the only one who can do the writing part. That is what you are really good at doing. And so when you start looking at it like a business, and you start looking at who can I outsource to help me make this a reality, to help me build this brand, and you look at other people's skill sets and you value that for what it is, and you bring them on board to help you bring your vision to life, that's where you start to really like make decisions like a publisher and get results like a publisher as a result. So I hope this was helpful. One more thing is that if you have found this helpful and you'd like to learn more about what I do, or you'd like to get some more resources from me, I have a free resource linked in the caption below for anyone who's looking for information on self-publishing and kind of wants to take next steps with that. So feel free to check out the description box below for the information on how to grab that. And that is all from me, and I will see you guys next time.